John was a young man who worked as a waiter in a busy restaurant. He was known for being calm, polite, and always focused on his work. Every day, he served food, took orders, and made sure that the customers were happy. Even when things got very busy or stressful, John stayed calm and never lost his temper. People around him admired his ability to stay collected, even in difficult situations. One day, during a busy lunch rush, a customer named Mr. Carter came into the restaurant. Mr. Carter was known to be a very difficult person. He was rude and had very high expectations. If something went wrong, he would quickly get upset and take it out on others. On that day, there was a small delay in getting his food to the table. Mr. Carter began to shout at John, calling him lazy and stupid in front of all the other customers. He did not care about anyone around him and just wanted to express his frustration. The restaurant suddenly became very quiet as everyone turned to watch. Some of the other customers looked uncomfortable, but John did not react right away. He knew that if he shouted back or argued, it would only make things worse. Instead of reacting with anger, John took a deep breath. He paused for a moment, allowing his emotions to calm down. He reminded himself that staying calm was the best way to deal with the situation. After a few seconds, he smiled gently at Mr. Carter and said, "I'm really sorry for the delay, sir. I'll do my best to fix it right away." Mr. Carter, who had been shouting just moments before, stopped and looked at John. He was a little surprised. John did not shout back or try to defend himself, but he still responded politely and respectfully. The other customers in the restaurant also noticed how calm John was. The tension in the room slowly disappeared as Mr. Carter became quieter. Later, when John brought out the food, Mr. Carter thanked him, although he didn't apologize for his earlier behavior. John had handled the situation with grace, and everyone in the restaurant saw it. John's calm reaction in such a difficult situation taught everyone around him an important lesson. He showed that staying calm gives you control. When we react quickly, especially in anger, we lose control of the situation. But when we take a moment to breathe and think, we can respond in a way that makes things better. People who stay calm in tough situations often earn more respect from others. It is not because they are weak or afraid, but because they have the strength to stay composed when others may lose their temper. John's behavior also taught his co-workers an important lesson. They saw how one moment of calmness could change the entire atmosphere of the room. Instead of making the situation worse by reacting angrily, John stayed in control and handled the situation with dignity. This made him stand out as a leader in the restaurant. Soon after, John was given a promotion. He didn't ask for it, but his calm and respectful behavior made him the best candidate for the role. The lesson we can learn from John is simple but powerful. In life, we will all face difficult situations. People may get angry, make mistakes, or treat us unfairly. It is easy to react in anger, but that often leads to more problems. Instead, if we can stay calm and think before we react, we can handle the situation much better. We can take control of our emotions and choose how to respond. This will help us avoid unnecessary conflicts and make better decisions. John's story shows that staying calm is not about being weak or passive. It is about having the strength to control your emotions and respond in a way that helps, rather than hurts, the situation. When we are calm, we can think more clearly, make better decisions, and earn the respect of those around us. It is a skill that can be learned and practiced, and it is something that will make us stronger in the long run. In life, the ability to stay calm is one of the most important things we can learn. It helps us stay in control, protect our peace, and handle difficult situations with wisdom. John's example reminds us that no matter what happens, we always have the choice to stay calm and respond thoughtfully. This simple habit can make a big difference in how we live our lives, how we interact with others, and how we grow as individuals. Maria was a university student who was well known for being smart and hardworking. She spent a lot of time studying and working on her assignments. Her professors respected her for her dedication, and her classmates looked up to her. However, Maria had one problem. She often reacted too quickly when faced with criticism or difficult situations. She was quick to speak and didn't always stop to think before she responded. This often caused problems for her. One day, during a class presentation, Maria was feeling confident. She had worked hard on her project and was excited to present it to her classmates. However, her professor, Dr. Williams, gave her feedback that she did not expect. He told her that her presentation lacked important details and that she hadn't explained her ideas clearly enough. Maria felt hurt by his comments. She thought she had done her best, and his criticism seemed unfair to her. Without thinking, Maria raised her voice and argued back. "That's not true," she said. "You don't understand my work. I spent so much time on this, and you're not being fair." The entire class fell silent. Dr. Williams looked surprised, and some of her classmates exchanged uncomfortable glances. Maria didn't realize it at the time, but her quick response had already caused damage. She had not only upset her professor, but also made her classmates feel awkward. Her words were not helpful, and they only made the situation worse. Later that day, as Maria thought about what had happened, she felt guilty. She realized that if she had taken a moment to pause and think before reacting, she could have handled the situation much better. Instead of arguing, she could have calmly asked Dr. Williams for more clarification on his feedback. She could have thanked him for the advice and promised to improve. But instead, her quick reaction had made things harder for herself. Maria's quick response was not just about that moment. It had lasting consequences. Her classmates started to view her differently. Some of them began to think that she was rude or defensive, even though that was not her intention. Her reputation, which she had worked so hard to build, was now affected. She had lost the chance to show her maturity and self-control. Instead, her emotional reaction had caused her to lose the respect of some people. The worst part was that Maria could not take back what she had said. The words were out, and the damage was done. Her emotional reaction had changed the way people saw her. Maria realized that when we react too quickly, we often do things we regret. Our emotions can take control, and before we know it, we've said or done something that we can undo. This is why it's important to learn to pause before reacting. After this experience, Maria decided to work on her reactions. She understood that reacting quickly, especially in difficult situations, was a habit she needed to break. It wasn't easy, but she started practicing a simple technique called the 5-second rule. The next time she felt the urge to react, she would take a deep breath and count to 5. This gave her time to think and decide how to respond in a calm and thoughtful way. Maria also started to remind herself that not every criticism was an attack. Sometimes, people offer advice to help us improve, not to hurt us. She realized that if she listened carefully and stayed calm, she could use feedback to grow. This change in her mindset made a big difference. She no longer felt the need to defend herself right away. Instead, she focused on learning and improving, and her relationships with her classmates and professors improved as well. The lesson Maria learned was clear: reacting too quickly can cause more harm than good. It's important to take a moment to think before responding. We all have emotions, and it's natural to feel upset or hurt when someone criticizes us. But when we let those emotions control us, we make decisions that we may later regret. By learning to pause and think, we can respond in a way that is more thoughtful, respectful, and effective. Maria's story is a reminder for all of us. It's easy to react quickly when we feel attacked or criticized, but that often leads to mistakes. Taking a deep breath and pausing for a few seconds can give us the time we need to choose a better response. When we do this, we not only protect our peace of mind, but we also show others that we are in control of our emotions. Over time, this habit can help us build stronger relationships and avoid unnecessary conflicts. In life, we will face many situations where we feel upset, frustrated, or misunderstood. But if we learn to control our reactions, we can handle those situations in a much better way. We can stay calm, think clearly, and make choices that help us grow and improve. Just like Maria, we can all learn to pause before we react, and in doing so, we can avoid the regret that comes from saying or doing something in the heat of the moment. Sarah worked at a corporate office. She was a hard-working and dedicated employee who always tried to do her best. Sarah wanted to do well in her job, and she cared deeply about the work she did. However, there was something that often made her life more difficult: her ego. Sarah sometimes felt that she had to defend herself whenever she was criticized or treated unfairly. She believed that she needed to prove herself to others, especially when someone said something negative about her. One day, Sarah's boss, Mr. Thomas, made an accusation that upset her. He claimed that she had made a mistake in a report, even though she knew the mistake wasn't hers. Mr. Thomas was angry and didn't listen when Sarah tried to explain the situation. He raised his voice, and Sarah could feel her frustration growing. She felt that she had to stand up for herself and make sure Mr. Thomas understood that he was wrong. In that moment, Sarah felt her ego taking over. She wanted to argue back and defend herself. Her mind raced with all the things she could say to prove she was right. But instead of reacting immediately, Sarah paused. She took a deep breath and decided to stay silent. She didn't argue or raise her voice. She simply remained calm and composed. Sarah's decision to remain silent was not a sign of weakness. In fact, it showed great strength. She understood that sometimes the best thing to do in a difficult situation is to say nothing at all. By staying silent, Sarah was able to maintain control over her emotions. She didn't let her ego lead her into a confrontation. She chose peace instead of getting caught up in an argument that could have made things worse. Later that day, Mr. Thomas called Sarah into his office. He had realized that he had made a mistake in accusing her. He apologized for his harsh words and acknowledged that Sarah had done nothing wrong. Sarah's silence had caused him to reflect on his actions. If she had argued with him or reacted angrily, the situation might have turned into a bigger problem. But by staying calm and silent, she allowed the truth to come out without saying a word. The power of silence was clear in this situation. When Sarah chose to remain silent, she allowed time for Mr. Thomas to think about what had happened. She didn't have to argue or defend herself because her silence spoke louder than any words could have. This taught Sarah an important lesson. Silence can be a powerful tool in difficult situations. When we stay silent, we show that we are in control of our emotions and that we don't need to prove anything to anyone. Sarah also learned that her ego often led her into unnecessary conflicts. When we let our ego control us, we feel the need to defend ourselves and prove that we are right. But the truth is, we don't always need to prove ourselves. Sometimes, it's better to let go of our ego and focus on what truly matters: our peace of mind and our relationships with others. By letting go of the need to be right, we can avoid conflicts and find inner peace. Sarah's decision to let go of her ego made a big difference in her life. She no longer felt the need to defend herself in every situation. Instead, she focused on staying calm and making thoughtful decisions. She learned that the less she focused on her ego, the more peaceful and strong she became. Sarah's ability to stay silent in moments of tension showed that true strength comes from within. It's not about shouting or arguing to prove our point. It's about remaining calm, composed, and focused on what really matters. The lesson here is simple: silence is powerful. It's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. When we choose silence instead of reacting, we show that we are in control of our emotions. We allow others to reflect on their actions and give ourselves time to think before responding. Letting go of our ego and staying silent in difficult situations can help us avoid unnecessary conflicts and build stronger, more peaceful relationships. In life, we will often face situations where we feel the need to defend ourselves or prove that we are right. But by letting go of our ego and choosing silence, we can avoid making things worse. We can focus on what really matters: our inner peace and our relationships with others. Sarah's story shows us that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is say nothing at all. Silence can be our strength, and it can help us rise above the noise and chaos of the world. Throughout the story of John, Maria, and Sarah, we have learned valuable lessons about the power of staying calm, thinking before reacting, and using silence as a tool for strength. Each of them faced difficult situations where emotions could have easily taken over, but they chose a different path. John, the waiter, taught us that in moments of stress and conflict, we have the power to control our reactions. Instead of reacting angrily to a rude customer, he took a deep breath, paused, and responded with calmness and respect. This not only resolved the situation, but also earned him the respect of others. John's story shows us that staying calm in difficult times gives us control over our emotions and situations. It allows us to make better decisions and build stronger relationships. Maria's story reminds us that reacting too quickly often leads to regret. She let her emotions control her response to her professor's criticism, which damaged her reputation and caused unnecessary conflict. However, after reflecting on her actions, she learned the importance of pausing and thinking before reacting. This small habit helped her avoid future regrets and made her a stronger, more thoughtful person. Marie's experience teaches us that we need to be aware of our reactions and take a moment to breathe before we speak or act. Finally, Sarah's story showed us the power of silence and the importance of letting go of our egos. When she was accused of something unfairly, she chose not to argue or defend herself. Instead, she stayed silent, which ultimately caused her boss to realize his mistake and apologize. Sarah's decision to remain silent and not give in to her ego allowed her to maintain her peace and dignity. Her story teaches us that silence is often more powerful than words, and that letting go of the need to be right can lead to greater strength and freedom. The common thread throughout these stories is the ability to control our reactions. By learning to stay calm, pause before reacting, and sometimes use silence instead of speaking, we can avoid unnecessary conflict and find peace in our lives. These habits help us build stronger, more respectful relationships and allow us to grow as individuals. So, what can we take away from these lessons? In our everyday lives, we face many challenges and difficult situations. It's easy to react in anger or frustration, but this often leads to more problems. Instead, if we practice pausing, thinking, and responding thoughtfully, we can make better decisions, avoid regrets, and lead more peaceful lives. Thank you for listening to this story and learning valuable lessons with us. I hope it has helped you improve your listening and understanding of English. By following the journey of John, Maria, and Sarah, you've gained insight into the power of controlling your reactions. Now, let's test your understanding with a small question. Please comment your answer below. Question: which of the following is a lesson from the story? A reacting quickly is always the best way to solve a problem. B. Pausing and staying calm can help you make better decisions. Please leave your answer in the comments as either or B. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep creating great content for you. And if you feel like supporting us even more, please consider donating. Starting out is tough, and your contributions will help us continue to provide high-quality content for you, completely free of charge. Thank you for being a part of our journey.